Hey there, fellow adventurers. I'm Alec Rosen, the host from Fishing and Adventure Tales. And today we're going to talk about sustainable fishing practices. Why sustainability? We want to ensure that this amazing sport that we enjoy, whether it's by ourselves or with our family and friends and kids, is sustainable for future generations and many, many years to come. So some of the things we're going to talk about in sustainability is using the right gear, whether that's circle hooks or environmentally friendly, sustainable non-lead sinkers. Other things we're going to talk about is the importance of following fishing rules and regulations, including making sure you follow catch and release and or size limits. And we're also going to talk about respecting size and bag limits of fish. All of these things combined with other practices we'll talk about add to the sustainability of our saltwater and freshwater ecosystems for sportsmen to enjoy for generations to come. So let's get into the sustainability business. So when we talk about sustainable fishing, what the hell are we talking about? It is basically a sport that you can catch and your food and eat it or release the fish back to the water and keep that sustainable. But it's more than just catching and releasing or eating what you kill. Okay, sustainable fishing practices are those that ensure that the fish stocks are managed for long-term growth and sustainability, that they remain healthy and the fish can reproduce and spawn for many, many generations to come. This means that fishing must be done at a level that does not exceed the actual capacity of the fish populations to replenish themselves, which is why there are closed seasons for fishing, open seasons for fishing, depending on where you live and where freshwater or saltwater. Some fish are all season, all year long. Others, there are closed seasons as well as size limits. There are a number of sustainable fishing practices that can be used to achieve sustainable fishing for long-term healthy fish stock. Number one, learn about the fishing regulations and rules where you live. I live in Florida. I have registered with the Florida Wildlife Commission, FWC. I download their rules. I have their app. When I travel out of state or out of country, I read up on the rules of where I'm fishing and the waters that I'm fishing in. It's absolutely critical that you follow the rules set out by the various Fish and Wildlife Commissions to ensure the sustainability of the fish that you're targeting, whether it's trout, tarpon, bonefish, or whatever in between. Make sure you follow those rules and regulations. That will help ensure future generations of healthy fish. Two, if you can, and I highly recommend it, practice catch and release and learn how to release fish properly so they can survive when you release them in the water. So what the hell does that mean? Catch and release. After you enjoy catching the fish, keep the fish in the water as long as possible. If you want to take them out to take a picture, that's perfectly fine. You don't need to photograph every single fish you catch. They're all basically, if you're within a school of bonefish or you're in a trout stream, they're all basically going to be the same size. You don't need to picture every one. Get a couple of nice shots quickly, put the fish back in the water, move him back and forth gently so the water is passing over the fish's gills. And when you feel that tail kick, time to gently release the fish back into the ocean, the bay, the stream, the lake, wherever you happen to catch that fish. Catch and release gives the fish a chance to grow, spawn, and reproduce, which keeps the population stock healthy. As a fisherman, it allows you to enjoy your sport. Obviously, if you're going to keep fish to eat, keep what you could eat. You don't have to limit out. Very rarely do I keep a fish, and when I do keep a fish, I'll eat it literally that day. I'm not keeping it to bring a lot of fish back to the dock, and I will always give the fish the benefit of the doubt on the size if I'm going to keep one. The next one, use circle hooks. Circle hooks, and circle hooks literally are shaped like a circle, and it's designed to catch the fish in the corner of the mouth. It's designed to catch the fish in the corner of the mouth. Why? Because it's not going down their throat, their gullet. You're not going to gill or throat hook them, okay? And it's very easy to remove that hook at the boat or the shoreline, and the fish could then swim off very safe, okay? The circle hooks enable the fish to be released unharmed. The trick with fishing with circle hooks is you have to keep the line taut and the rod bent. As soon as there's slack in the line, the fish could shake his head and throw the hook. It's a little more challenging, but fishing should be challenging to begin with. And it also should be fair that the fish has an opportunity to break off and be free. Use barbless hooks when you can. You can use a multi-tool or pliers and just crunch the barb on the hook. That certainly allows weak-lipped fish such as trout and others to be able to release quickly without destroying or ripping their jaws or around their mouth and enabling them to eat. For big saltwater fish, it's not a big deal. But for a lot of freshwater fish, it is very important to crimp the barb on the hook. Barbless hooks also reduce the amount of injuries that fish will have when you release them, and ensure their survivability. Avoid using lead weights when fishing. When I was a kid, I used to actually make and sell lead sinkers. So lead is not the safest ingredient to dump into the environment. It's very cheap. I still have lead in my fishing tackle boxes. I'm in the process of transitioning to non-lead. I typically fly fish or use lure, so I don't have a lot of lead sinkers that I need, but I am transitioning to non-lead metal alternatives such as steel, copper, brass, ceramic. These non-lead sinkers do the same job. They sink, they catch fish, and when they break off, they're not causing an environmental catastrophe or an environmental issue with wildlife, birds, and other fish that may eat a lead split shot or a sinker. Another issue is really disposing of your fishing gear properly, particularly lines and hooks and lures. If you have a bird's nest in your reel and you need to strip off all that line, it happens to even the best of us, cut it, put it in your gear bag, bring it back to the dock, dispose of it properly. The last thing you want is yards or hundreds of yards of fishing line out there getting caught up in fish, getting caught up in birds. That just destroys the whole reason we're out there, to enjoy the outdoors and enjoy the fishing and the wildlife. So definitely dispose of hazardous waste, sinkers, split shot, old fishing line, rusty. Don't throw rusty lures or whatever back in the ocean or the lake. Dispose of them properly. Obviously, sometimes you have an errant cast and your lure is in the tree, and you try to break it off so you can retrieve your $10, $15, $20 lure. Sometimes it doesn't work and it's stuck in the tree. If you can get it out for two reasons. One, it's costing you money for your gear, and two, you don't want other animals to get hooked on a treble hook or a lure or a fly that's stuck in a tree. Beware of invasive species. Now, most people are going to tell you, report if you see invasive species when you're fishing. And here in South Florida, there are a lot of invasive species, from pythons to all kinds of exotic, non-native fish. You could report them. I just kill them. That's plain and simple. Invasive species, I catch and kill. And depending on where I'm fishing, I throw them back in the water. If I'm in an alligator infested Everglades, I don't, because I'm not feeding the alligators, but I definitely will kill all invasive species that I run across, and that include Burmese pythons, any other invasive species. So let's talk about fishing seasons and bag limits. So some fish, they have an open season and a closed season. Certainly during open season, if it's within the bag limit, the amount of fish you're allowed to keep and the size, you can keep those fish. Also, the other thing is if you catch fish during a closed season, you have to release it regardless of its size. So you have to be cognizant of when seasons are open and when they're closed. Some places, particularly on a lot of rivers in certain states, you can't even fish during the closed season. Saltwater fishing, you can, depending on the state, but if it's a closed season for snook or flounder or what have you, you need to release that fish, even if it's in the size limit. When it comes to size limits, there are several things to take in consideration. Proper measurement of the fish, tail to fork. Different species may have different regulations. Make sure it's within that size limit that is the minimum or the maximum, which is the slot size of the fish. Personally, if I'm going to keep a fish, I always give the fish the benefit of a doubt. If it's right there at the minimum number or inches, whether it's a mutton snapper or what have you, I release it. I give the fish the benefit of the doubt. Okay, and that's not only is that sustainable, but it also prevents you from getting a ticket. So sustainable fishing practices are important for a number of reasons. It makes sure that the sport that we love as fishermen is going to be available for not just the rest of our lives, but for future generations, our children and grandchildren to enjoy. Okay, and that the environment that we enjoy is going to be sustainable for nature, not just for us as sportsmen, but for the fish that we love and the birds and the other animals that live in these ecosystems to enjoy. By following sustainable fishing practices, us as anglers, we can help ensure that fishing remains a sustainable, fun activity for generations to come. So another activity to do that is not on the water but support sustainability is support environmental fishing organizations, whether that's Trout Unlimited, the Bonefish Tarpon Trust, the Billfish Foundation, whatever your thing is, you should give some back to make sure that the waters remain clean and wild and the fish stocks are healthy and productive. So one more thing I want to add. So anglers are in a unique position, a unique opportunity to help. We're on the front line of protecting our streams, rivers, lakes, bays, estuaries, and oceans. If we practice sustainable fishing practices, this sport and the fishing that we enjoy will be sustainable for generations to come. So we really need to follow these basic rules and etiquettes of sustainable fishing. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, or at least it reinforces things that you're already doing.